Welcome to the Back on Track Achieving Healthy Weight Loss podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alicia Shelly. So I've been doing this podcast for about it'll be 3 years in July. And the reason why I started this podcast was because number one, I've suffered with my weight, but also I wanted to help people who were like myself, who have yo-yo diet all their life and who was kind of on the other side trying to get right back on track with getting back on track with their healthy weight loss. And so for those who may have joined a little bit later on in this podcast, because we've had over 140 some episodes at this point, but I just wanted to share with you my story. So like I said before, I have suffered with weight loss for a long time, since childhood, I would say. And like many people, I've tried all types of diets, eating right, and the extreme diets, like the lemonade diet, where I just drink lemonade, cayenne pepper for like 7 days. I felt like I was going to die. At the end, I was so weak. I've tried different programs, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, a lot of things to help. And I'm not saying these programs don't work. They do. I lost weight, but then all of a sudden that weight started creeping back. I would remember being in the gym, exercising all the time, seeing such great results, feeling great, and then life would happen. I remember being in med school and now rotations, I had to, come in at 5 a.m., leave in at 6 or 7, going to, trying to study and then coming back to the hospital. And it just got so overwhelming sometimes. And I would see where I had such progress and then the weight would come back. And so what we describe that is as weight regain. And I know a lot of people, or many people, have experienced similar experiences as far as with that yo-yo dieting, as they say, or even just kind of weight gain. Even if it's not necessarily your yo-yo dieting, you're just doing a life change. And then, a few years later, you're like, man, the weight came back. I don't know what happened. And so today, actually last week, my TEDx talk, which was entitled 3 Ways to Stop Weight Regain After Bariatric Surgery, just dropped on the TEDx YouTube channel. So there'll be a link if you want to check it out. But I wanted to share just some information and just some strategies on how you can overcome that weight regain after bariatric surgery. For those who may not be aware, I did actually have bariatric surgery in 2015, and I was doing great. I felt great. I lost weight, but then all of a sudden that weight started creeping back up, and that was over a couple years. And I found myself I had lost 80 some pounds and then had gained 40 of it back. So you can only imagine just how, distraught I felt with having to look at myself and be like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? What's going on? Because to lose the weight and then to gain half of it back, I felt so ashamed. And that's when I realized that I had to make this a lifestyle change. I had to do this for me. I can't just stop, all the different interventions that I'm doing. I have to keep going, because for me, when I stop, that's when the weight comes back. And especially if things like life gets in the way, stress, work, all the different obligations that you're supposed to do get in the way, it can make it really easy for that weight to come back. So let's first talk about, why does weight regain happen? And there's a theory called the set point theory. In this theory, it says that a majority of us, our body has a certain weight that it wants to be. And this weight, for me, usually is a lot higher and a lot less healthy. And so what happens is that when I start to do the lifestyle interventions, exercise, eat differently, maybe take medications, my weight will start to go down. But my body still wants to be at that set point. And so it works against me by increasing my hunger hormone called ghrelin, or decreasing my metabolism so that the weight will start to creep up again. And so a lot of times you see that when, you lost weight and then all of a sudden things get in the way and you may not necessarily be doing the same intervention that you were doing before, you can see that weight just kind of slowly creeping up, going back to where that set point. And it can be very frustrating, that set point. And later on, I'll talk about some strategies to overcome that. But there are other reasons why people can regain their weight. Most commonly, you can regain your weight due to medications. There are certain medications that can promote weight gain. such as steroids. So being on steroids chronically can regain your weight. Even certain antidepressant medications can regain your weight. Not to mention even like anti-seizure medications like gabapentin, they can regain your weight. And then there are certain diabetes medications like glipizide and glimepiride that can cause some weight gain as well. So there's many different medications that can promote weight. And so if you've been put on that to help treat a different condition, sometimes even weight, you start to see your weight come up. A big one, I forgot about this one, but a big one is the Depo-Medrol shot. That progesterone for birth control can definitely regain weight. I've had several patients who were on that gain 20, 30 pounds. So, and I know for me, when I was on birth control, I gained weight too. So, it just depends on what your body is more sensitive to. Also, a couple of other things that can cause you to regain your weight. It may be if you're going through a tough time, if you're going through depression or worsening anxiety. Sometimes these mood disorders can really affect you, and it can affect your motivation. It can affect you whether you want to, go outside and exercise or eat right, or you just want to stay indoors and just, lay in bed all day. It can really affect your momentum and your motivation. And so it can make a difference too. Some people who experience those conditions, some people don't eat, some people do eat, or overeat. And, when it comes to weight, people think, let me not eat enough and I'll lose weight. But actuality, your body goes into starvation mode when you're not eating enough calories, and that can cause you to gain weight. So I've had patients that have gone both ways as far as with overeating or not eating enough. Also, sometimes the lack of physical activity and just the time to kind of have that eating healthier foods can also play a role when it comes to weight regain. I know when I had lost weight in medical school, and then when I got to the wards and I was eating the hospital food, or wasn't eating the food I brought or I made, and I didn't have time to exercise because I was studying so I can go back and still perform, my weight just kind of increased. And by the end of residency, I did not recognize that woman who had graduated residency from where I was as a second year med student. So, it definitely played a role on my weight kind of coming back. And so let's talk a little bit about strategies or ways that we can overcome. And the first thing I realized is that when it came to the forefront that, oh my gosh, I had gained back 40 pounds after losing 80 with bariatric surgery, that really hit me kind of hard. Like I said before, I felt so ashamed. But what happened was I took that moment, even though I did feel ashamed, I addressed that moment. But then that's when I kind of, realized that I needed to do something different. And I was in that mindset and I was ready to do something different. After that, I started going back to, I realized I do a lot better with a personal trainer or with somebody who can be my accountability partner. So I started working out with her. I started actually, eating healthier. So I made sure days I couldn't cook, I actually would get a meal prep. I would meal prep on the weekends so that I had food for the week, and I'd bring my lunch. That's another thing. In our office, we're so blessed to have pharmacy reps that come and bring lunch, so we don't always have to worry about it. But it's never really that healthy. Sometimes you have some healthy lunch. You're like, oh, this is great. Oh my gosh, this is a great lunch. Other times it's like pizza, and you're like, okay. So, but I find that when I am on top of that meal prep, I feel so much better because I'm eating healthier, high quality foods and healthier foods as well. So the first thing is kind of number one strategy is to take a moment, assess where you are, assess if you're ready to start a lifestyle intervention, because some of us are not ready. Especially if you're going through a depression and an anxiety and you're still in that space, you may need to try to first work with somebody to help with getting to a better place until you're ready to kind of put that time in. I know sometimes I have patients and, we talk about the lifestyle intervention and they're like, nope, I don't have time. I can't do this. I can't do that. And, I ask them, I'm like, is this a good time for you right now? Or do you want to, wait until it's better? And usually when I ask that question, then that kind of helps people to kind of be like, well, I'm ready. I am ready to do this. And so we kind of work through how we can implement healthy habits in their current lifestyle. But sometimes you have to actually take that moment and assess where you are. Are you ready? Do you have the bandwidth to do it? If you don't, then work on getting there. Work on, if you're going through depression, work with somebody to help you get out of that depression, whether it's with a psychologist, psychiatrist, or your primary care, or a trained specialist to kind of help you get through that depression. Is it if you're just overwhelmed and you have so much stuff, so many obligations on your plate, you may need to say no to something so that you can say yes to your health. And that's okay to tell people no, because in order for you to continue to do the things that you need to do for others, you got to address you. You got to take time for you. And so sometimes you got to say no to other things so that you can say yes to what's most important to you. And then once you're ready and you're like, yes, I'm ready to go for it, then the strategy number 2 is start with a lifestyle habit that you would like to start with. It just has to be one. Start with one. And that may be, hey, I want to start exercising a little bit more. I'm going to make it time in my schedule so that I make sure that I'm exercising 3 to 4 times a week. Or it may be, I really want to be healthier, so I'm going to eat healthy. I want to start with meal prepping, or I'm going to give somebody a meal service so that I can eat a little bit more healthier throughout the week. Or it may be something as simple as I just want to drink more water. I just want to decrease the sodas that I'm drinking and the different beverages. You decide what that lifestyle goal is. I would say, and how much you can handle. A lot of times we have to change everything all at once. You do not have to do that. You can start with just one thing that you want to change and then go from there and then keep moving forward. So it does not have to be this whole complete change, because you can start with one goal, master that, go on to the next goal, master that, go on to the next goal. And then before you know it, you've changed so much of your aspect of your lifestyle that you don't recognize the person where you are. And so I see it a lot when people come back after working with me and they're just like, hey, I see the weight has gone down. I see that it has gotten better. And sometimes it's just because first of all, they keep putting one foot forward. They keep moving forward. They keep tweaking things, improving things. Because when it comes to the lifestyle, it's kind of like I said, it's for life. So you may not get it all at once, but just as long as you keep moving forward, it will get easier. It will get easier. And so with those lifestyle goals, it can include incorporating eating healthy, exercise, drinking more fluids, getting sleep, getting enough rest, reducing your stress, all important principles to help with losing weight. And then the last strategy I would say is find your accountability partner, whether it's a partner, whether it is a group, whether it is somebody, an app that you're utilizing, whatever it may be. Find how you can stay accountable, because sometimes we have so much going on that we need somebody to be that appointment where we're going to meet them at a certain time so we can exercise, or we're going to join this class at a certain time and we know we're going to get that in because we enjoy it. So finding how do you keep yourself accountable. And the last thing, once you keep somebody accountable, you can be able to be consistent. So stay consistent. And then the last thing I would say, the last strategy would be give yourself some grace on the days that it doesn't work out for you, because there are some days when things just aren't going great. Give yourself grace and then start again. I was talking to a patient, and they were talking about how they were going on a cruise, and I'm like, well, that's great, but do you have a plan for that cruise? Are you going to stay the same lifestyle, or are you going to change? Just give yourself a little bit of leeway. What are you going to do? And they hadn't thought about it. And I'm like, well, first of all, you're going on a cruise, you're on a vacation. Doesn't mean you have to go all crazy and eat everything, but have a plan, have a small plan, and give yourself a little bit of grace to enjoy that vacation, that time, so it's not overwhelming. So needless to say, as far as the strategies, number 1, just take a moment to assess where you are. Just make sure you're ready for that lifestyle intervention, and if you don't have the bandwidth or you're in a different space, go ahead and work on that to get to that place where you do have the bandwidth to start a lifestyle change. Start with a small goal and then kind of taper up and work your way up. Number 2. Number 3, incorporate eating healthy, incorporate exercise. Number 4. And then number 5 is have more of an accountability and stay consistent. consistent. And then number 6 is give yourself some grace. Well, I thank you so much for joining us today on the Back on Track Achieving Healthy Weight Loss. I hope you like this episode. Please feel free to share it with others, like it and subscribe. And don't forget to leave a 5-star review. And we will see you next time.